All right. Hello, everybody. Tonight we have Lynn Fingerhut. I'm so excited to have Lynn share with us, especially since she's still suffering from major jet lag from her trip. But a lot of people talk about, they know a little bit about healing hands and the co-impact sourcing and all of that, but we get to have here the firsthand experience from Lynn. So I'm super excited about that. Lynn and I have known each other for, wow, seems like forever, huh? But I just love and adore Lynn. She's amazing. She is a fantastic leader and just has a heart to serve people. And she's an amazing mom. And so you're super thrilled. I mean, not thrilled. I hope you're thrilled, but you're very fortunate to be able to hear from Lynn because I think she's awesome. So I'm super excited to hear what you have to share, Lynn, and we'll let you go ahead and get started. You're muted.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay. Thank you, Romy. Thank you so much for the introduction, and thanks for letting me share. And thanks, Kenzie, for helping me make sure that I could have this on, have a little, some photos and info to share too, because I had no idea how to do that. So I think we're set though. So yeah, I'm still jet lagged. I just got back from Nepal on Sunday. So that was 2 days ago, and it's 12 hours time difference. So it's 12 hours ahead, right? Yeah, I think 12 hours ahead. So my body is definitely off and thinks that it's, I mean, all day long, I am drowsy, and then I'm like at like 2 a.m. and just ready to go. And it's not a good idea because I have little kids who get up early in the morning and need to go to school and things like that. So like I said, I just got back from Nepal with the Healing Hands Foundation, and that's a partnership that doTERRA has with Choice Humanitarian also. And Choice is a separate organization, but doTERRA has partnered closely with them. So the Choice group are on the ground in Nepal and actually helped us with everything. They are the ones that are the local people. They're Nepalese people, and they were the ones they're the ones working there. So we kind of joined along with them and got to go meet really interesting people and see a lot of different things that Choice is doing along with the Healing Hands Foundation. And so it was so enlightening and interesting. And I had no idea. I didn't know anything about these trips really, other than what I've seen on the videos at convention. I didn't know anybody who'd been on them personally until the Rigby's went on one. I didn't know how people got to go on these trips, or if it was only these, top exclusive, like top leaders and, exclusive events and everything. So I was lucky enough to get picked in this lottery convention last September to go. I'd put in a donation to Healing Hands, and the donation was actually entering this lottery. And I'd specifically picked Nepal because I thought that would be a very interesting trip. And I was really fascinated by the wintergreen that we're growing in Nepal and sourcing from Nepal. So we first went to Kathmandu. It was a group of 30 people, and they are not all like upper echelon leaders of doTERRA. There were a few in the group that were, but they were people from all over the US and Canada, and we had one couple from Europe, and they're all different leaders. Some aren't really leading at all. I mean, don't really have big teams or anything like that. They were just people interested in going. Others were some bigger leaders, some who've been in doTERRA for a really long time, and some that are pretty new. We had Dr. Hill with us, who's one of the founding members of the founding executives of doTERRA, and his wife, Chris Hill. And we had Tim Valentiner, who's the co-impact sourcing coordinator for doTERRA. So between those two, we got so much great information. They were like a wealth of knowledge, and but they were also just part of the group. So it was really fun too. Just hang out and get to know people on a personal level, but then also the amount of knowledge that they have about doTERRA, about our oils, about co-impact sourcing. That it was great. So one of the first things we did was we went to the village, and I have these pictures up here. We took this bus. It was up these mountains, up and down these windy mountains, out of Kathmandu, which is super crowded, urban, very jam-packed with traffic and pollution. There's a lot of pollution. And then we took these buses, 2 buses, on these hills way up into the mountains. And it seemed like forever that we were driving. Actually took us 6 hours to get there. And you know actually what the distance is? Because a couple of people were tracking on GPS, 38 miles. So it was 38 miles, but because of the condition of the roads, the roads are very poor. There's a lot of gaping holes, potholes, rocks. Also the roads are very narrow, so only one vehicle can go at a time. And like on these curves that you see, I took pictures of some of the curves. The bus has to honk before it goes around the curve, because there's no room for 2 vehicles. And sometimes you're like out on a cliff, and if another car is coming, you kind of play chicken until one backs up enough to let the other go by. But these, the drivers know what they're doing. Also, there's tremendous traffic in Kathmandu. I mean, just stopped traffic. So it took us 6 hours to go 38 miles on the way there, and then 7 hours on the way back. So we had lots of bus time for talking and singing, and lots of just, some people going stir crazy because basically we're sitting for a long time there. So we got up into these mountains, and that is where the co-impact sourcing is happening. That's where the Healing Hands Foundation is operating. So the Healing Hands Foundation with doTERRA, if you're probably familiar with the name, but it's the charitable arm of doTERRA. So every single penny that goes into the Healing Hands Foundation goes directly to the people that we have co-impact sourcing relationships with. And there's several countries where we have those relationships. So in Nepal, every single dollar that goes there goes to the people. It goes to their rebuilding schools, rebuilding their health center, working with on various projects. There's not the Healing Hands Foundation money doesn't go to administrative costs. It didn't cover any of our travel. We all paid for that out of pocket, and probably doTERRA had to kick in some too. I'm not really sure how that worked, but we definitely had to pay out of pocket for that. Things like, packets of information that we got, T-shirts that we got, any fees that it takes to get the executives or anything. The Healing Hands Foundation doesn't cover any of that. That money is only allocated for aid for individuals and communities that are in extreme poverty. And these people are in extreme poverty. When we got to the village where we were working, we were going to be working, the people there met us with this enormous ceremony. The whole town comes down to the schoolyard, which is kind of the center of the community. There's 100,000 people in the area, but that area is actually it spreads out for 2 or 3 hours walking distance. The roads are really poor, and most people don't have cars. So it's, for the most part, it's bicycling or walking, mostly walking. So these kids go to school, sometimes have to walk 2 or 3 hours one way every single day to get to their school. And so the schoolyard was kind of our headquarters. And you can see in these pictures, they met us with flowers and these wreaths of marigolds, and then these red flowers. They had instruments. There was dancing. There was they were coming out to greet us, because they know that people that come on a visit like this, like with doTERRA, with Choice, are people that are coming there to serve them, to work with them. They know things happen when these people are here. You know, things are built, projects go on, and we played with the kids too. So for the 3.5 days we were there, it was pretty much nonstop interaction with the people in the town. So these kids are it's an elementary school and a secondary school, all on this kind of big round school campus area, and so these kids ranged from age 4 or 5 all the way up to teenagers. And they were so excited to have us there and just really, really kind and welcoming. So if some of you've seen that video of Emily Wright walking into this huge crowd and embracing the older woman, and they put the red dot on the forehead, it's actually a rice-based like textured, I don't know, powder, and they have it in a tray, and they come out and they put that on you, and it's a ritual that the people used for special occasions, and they used it for us to welcome us into this village, and it's a very sweet ceremony. We had a professional photographer with us. They very specifically asked us to not carry around our own cameras, our own cell phones, because you put something between you and the people. So they're like, you just want to have pure, unfettered interactions with the people, children and adults. You don't want to stick a camera in front of your face and have this, something that comes between people in the interactions. So the photographer took these pictures. And there's a ton of them, and they're really beautiful. And it's pretty emotional when you see the people coming down to meet you, especially later when you go and see how they live, where they work, where they go to school, and the healthcare that they're getting, things like that. It's all very, very, it's very primitive, and a lot of their resources were lost in the 2015 earthquake. They were already in poverty. This is a very poor area, low income, not a lot of resources. But then in 2015, the earthquake destroyed most of their homes. It destroyed their healthcare, all their schools, and then just things like the very basic water pipes that they had. A lot of their outbuildings, people were living under canvas tents, and entire families living that way. So the gradual rebuilding is happening. But we had this ceremony where the kids came and danced, and they were obviously very organized. We later, when we were able to talk to them and our little bit of Nepali and their little bit of English, we learned these kids get on YouTube, on people's cell phones or on laptops that a teacher might have or something like that. And they find YouTube videos, and then they just rehearse and dance. And they do these, they're all traditional Nepali dances that they did. So it was like little girls would come do the dance, and then a group of teenagers, and then some older kids. And it was really neat. It goes on for hours, this dancing. And we didn't even know what to expect, but then we have this big ceremony and this big dance, and then that just breaks the ice, because the kids, after they do their dances, they would come grab our hands out of the crowd and just pull us up into the middle of this area. You can see here, we were all kind of sitting and watching, and then they would come grab our hands and bring us up to dance with them. So it ends up being this huge dance party. And this happened on the day we arrived and on the day we left. Hours and hours and hours of interacting with them and dancing with them. And so it was really a neat experience. So co-impact sourcing, if you're familiar with it, is the way that we get our oils. So that's how doTERRA sources oils for the most part. The goal is for all oils to have a co-impact sourcing relationship. They don't yet, but it's a goal. But the idea is that people, especially people who live in really impoverished conditions, but really all people, can earn a fair wage, make sure they can get their payments on time, They have ongoing income by growing or harvesting the plants that we need for our oils. So the goal is to be in relationships with these people long term. And doTERRA makes sure they're paid well, they're treated fairly, and that conditions are sustainable, that it's kind to the earth, and that it's safe for the people too. So they get that benefit, and then we get the benefit of plants that are grown in native environments sustainably. They're the healthiest plants they can possibly be. And then those plants make the best oils for us. So it's a mutually beneficial relationship, and it's a lot of work. It is a lot of work, and we learned that from Tim and from Dr. Hill. That this is a huge amount of relationship building and coalition building. They have to have people on the ground in these different areas to get to know the individuals and the farmers and the people that own the land. And it takes so much work to build these relationships up. And then to make sure things are going smoothly and that they're getting paid fairly, and also not getting overpaid, because if you get overpaid, the relationships start to break down because people get bitter and other people get angry, and it can break relationships too. We learned all kinds of things about the different things they're doing. So the co-impact sourcing team at doTERRA they're pretty much the most amazing people. They're the ones that are doing so much legwork to make sure for the long term that we have amazing oils, and that we're having these great relationships with the people that are growing them and harvesting them and distilling them, all of that. So it's really impressive. And it's one of the things that was most important to me when I joined doTERRA too, was sustainability. So, I should say too, if anybody has any questions, let me know. I don't know. How people are probably familiar with co-impact sourcing a little bit. But I could talk about it all day. So we went to the Wintergreen Distillery. That's just outside the little town where we were. It's about maybe a 10-minute drive or something. Also let me know if I freeze. I feel like this sometimes freezes up too. The distillery is actually community owned. So the people that are distilling the wintergreen are actually they're all buying into ownership of this distillery. Our wintergreen is sourced it's just wild grown wintergreen. The conditions on this mountain and around this area are ideal for wintergreen. It has to be high altitude and shady, and there have to be a certain amount of fir trees that they drop these needles, and this gives the soil the exact perfect pH level to grow this wintergreen. We learned all this. Tim would talk for hours about the science of this stuff, and it is fascinating. It's just the perfect conditions. So mostly women are harvesting the wintergreen, just cutting it wild, and every single day they cut wintergreen. They put it on their backs, and some of them are carrying these enormous bushels of wintergreen that weigh as much as they do. And they're hiking up a mountain to the distillery, and they get paid based on the weight of their pack, like the pack on their back. And so we got to see them coming up the hill the morning that they were distilling. Some of them have babies strapped to the front of them, or like little kids kind of trailing along behind them. A lot of them are barefoot or just in flip-flops, and these are big rocky hills they're climbing up. And then when they got up to the scale, we got to actually watch them kind of unload their packs, weigh their wintergreen, and then they get paid right there on the spot. And also the choice people, who are amazing, had brought them breakfast. And that's something it hadn't occurred to me, but of course it occurs to them because this is what they do, and they're amazing. They'd packed up the breakfast that we were all served that morning into little individual containers. And then as the women would come and receive their payment, drop off their wintergreen, they would hand them a pack of food, or the kids, if the kids were with them, they would give them each a little container of food, and then they all sit down and eat and talk to us while they're eating. And we were reminded that some of them may not have eaten, not only not that morning, but possibly the entire day before or longer. These are very, very impoverished people. And they walk a long way without shoes with babies on their chest to do this work, because it's their family income. And it is a fair amount of money for the local, for what they have locally. It's an incredibly low amount of money by our standards. I can't remember the exact amount, but it's incredibly low by our standards. It's not bad by Nepali standards, where the average income in a year is $750. So this was actually the distillery. This is my hand holding the wintergreen next to the oil that's coming out. So it smells like wintergreen. It really does. It's not as quite as strong because this is actually before the oil and the water are separated. So there's a bunch of information about wintergreen. We used to source it from China, and then they discovered that it grows sustainably and really beautifully in Nepal. So that was a better relationship option for doTERRA. If you used to use the old wintergreen, now you use a new one, there's a slight difference in smell. That is the only difference. Otherwise, they're chemically 100% the same. It's just the smell. It's also one of the really easy to adulterate oils, because you can make synthetic wintergreen. And that's what, of course, like you smell with gum or, different fresheners, things like that. So it's a really easy one to adulterate, and very difficult to distill. We've kind of perfected it, but it's a lot of work to distill. It takes a literally tons of plant material. It's just, I don't know, all the science behind it was fascinating. I don't know how much that interests everybody, but we talked a lot about the volume of this plant material that's required to just make a little 2-liter bottle of the essential oil, which makes 133 of our bottles. And it takes 12 hours to distill. You can't cut trees in Nepal. It's against the law. So, and that's wise because it's so hilly that if all the trees were cut, the hills, there would be just massive landslides. So you can't cut trees. They can use trees that are already down, or trees that someone else has cut with permission. And then they also use all the plant material. After a distillation, they take all the plant material out of the distiller, it dries, and then they use that for fuel on the next distillation. It's a very sustainable operation. doTERRA helped, the Healing Hands Foundation co-impact sourcing team helped get this distillery up and running, but it's community owned. So these people are the local people own it. They're running it, and they're constantly tweaking everything to get it to be more efficient, to use less fuel. And they're using this as kind of a guide to future distillation in Nepal and other places. So this picture of the wintergreen, this is a huge pile after all these women have come up the hill and dropped their wintergreen. And then down in the corner, several people in our group took turns putting their packs full of wintergreen on our backs, and it's backbreaking. And we are all much larger than these women. A lot of the people in our group were men, obviously like 2 or 3, 4 times the body mass of these very small, petite women, and they were having trouble lifting all this. So they actually lift it using a strap across their forehead. So if you see down in the corner, that's Eric Larson lifting up the wintergreen. And we have some funny videos of different people in our group, trying to lift these packs and realizing oh my gosh, this woman who's probably 75 pounds soaking wet is lifting a pack of wintergreen that's 70 pounds on her back and carrying it up the hill with a baby and barefoot. It's pretty humbling. And if any of you were at convention last year, Pratik is the director of choice on the ground in Nepal, and he's down there in the corner with the black t-shirt and the brown hat. He was with us the whole time, and he was on stage last year. And so when I met him, I was like, oh, I know, I heard you speak. And he's a humble guy, really sweet. And he's so happy to be involved with showing us around. And Sometimes I think we're the ones. I see these people, I see the individuals in videos and on stage at convention, and you think like, oh, they're kind of, famous in doTERRA circles. And they're just so grateful to be involved, and just really, really kind people. Definitely friends now. And all our Nepalese leaders were fantastic. And they were the ones also that were sitting down talking to the women after they brought the wintergreen up, and learning about some of the things that they have going on, so they're kind of keeping track of how else they can help. A lot of those women have a lot of other needs. Some of them are being abused, and some of them are homeless. And they were already strategizing behind the scenes while we were there, without really telling us at all, on how they can better help them individually. So it's pretty humbling. This is one of the women carrying up some wintergreen. She had a baby. She also had another little boy with her, and she was hauling probably 50 pounds of wintergreen on her back, walking up this giant hill. And then they all hung out for a little bit and ate some food, and then just left to probably go down and go back to probably cook for the rest of the day, just to get up the next morning and harvest some wintergreen so that she can feed her family. This is the actual wintergreen distillation. So it's actually, this is after it came out of the distillation. It's just in a water bottle, and it's like, this is our oil. This is where we get it. And this is one of the distillers, the man holding it up. They work on this for hours and hours and hours. It's hot work. It's tedious work. And they have to learn all about, how to distill and know exactly when it's ready. This is prior to us straining out any of the extraneous things in it. And then also, obviously, there's a lot of testing that goes into it after this, both in Nepal and then back at doTERRA too. All the testing has to be done before it can be bottled. This is the distillation machine, the distiller, I guess, with all the wood in it. And that's Dr. Hill sitting down talking to one of the distillers about this. So I'm sure there's a huge language barrier, but you can get by with a lot of body language too. So it was neat. So because we have this relationship now with the wintergreen, we're kind of embedded. doTERRA, the Healing Hands Foundation, is embedded in this area. So because of the earthquake, Nepal was hit really hard. My children are arguing over my shoulder, if you can hear this. The school and the health center were huge priorities for the town because they're obviously necessary services. Without a school, the kids don't have anywhere to go. Obviously, education is huge, but they're also more at risk for being trafficked. So the kids need to be in school, and they need to be in school locally. Going further away or having people come and take them on buses to who knows where it's not a safe situation. So getting them back into school and then taking care of people's health were critical infrastructure issues. And that's what we're doing there. That's the Healing Hands Foundation is helping to rebuild this school in a much bigger way too. I mean, it's expansion. And then also the health center. There's a little tiny health center. It looks like a little house, like a small house. It's about 4 rooms. And right now there are 2 doctors. They're these young doctors, and they are serving 100,000 people. So that's everybody who needs stitches, every car accident, every fall, injury, illness, complicated birth, just normal health issues that come with aging. People are born at this health center and they die at this health center, and they don't have much in the way of critical care. They send people to Kathmandu quite a bit who have more serious illnesses and injuries. They have no inpatient beds. And I can't even imagine being sick or injured and then having to ride a bus over those bumpy roads for 6 hours. But that's what they have to do. They send them to Kathmandu. So we are helping our money. They're expanding the health center. It's going to have 20 beds, and 5 of them are inpatient. So they'll actually have like a real hospital where 5 beds at a time can be there longer term. that's what we did while we were there. We actually physically worked on the health center. This was a dedication. The first morning we were there, the first morning after that big ceremony, they actually dedicated the building. They did a blessing, and this is something we were told that Nepalese people do anytime there's any new construction. But this is very, very special. It's a rare event. They actually put the cornerstone in the building, and then there were the men were all dressed in these traditional Nepali outfits, and they played shells and other instruments, simple instruments, and then they burned incense and did blessings, and then gave a lot of people these big elaborate these neck garments made out of plants. And Pratik, who's there in the, he's wearing the red scarf in this picture, he said that it was the most elaborate neck garment he'd been given since his wedding day, and that was like 20 years ago. So he said this is an extremely special day. It's very important, and we got to be there to see it. And Dr. Hill obviously was given a lot of accolades because, you know, as a founding member of doTERRA, this is happening largely because of the Healing Hands Foundation and doTERRA. And the young woman you see, like there, down there in the corner of your screen with the ponytail, she's a doctor. She's one of the 2 doctors that are serving this community right now. And she was right in there with us, laying bricks, we're laying cement. But she would stop to go take care of people because they see sometimes 90 to 150 people a day in the health center. So it's pretty amazing. The health center didn't shut down while we're doing this. It's right next door. It won't shut down during this construction. It can't. They don't have the resources to shut it down for a little bit while they build the new one. So that's the doctor, like I said, and Pratik, who is the director of choice. And then Tim of the co-impact sourcing team, and Dr. Hill and Chris Hill. That's in the foundation. They're standing inside the foundation of the new health center that should be done by the end of the year. So we did a lot of work on that. I don't even know how much they needed us because really the Nepalese people, they can build, they can draw up blueprints and build. They just lack the money to buy the bricks and the cement and, you know, things like that. The people power, you know, I think we sped it up a little bit, but they need the resources that we have. So we were fortunate enough to get to help out. They let us help, and then interacted with us, which was really kind. That was Pratik getting the I can't remember what it's called, but the thing on his neck, that it's made out of plants. It's really elaborate. Because this is such a special day. So while we were working on the building, we got to go down to the school. The women in our group got to go down to the school and listen to a Days for Girls presentation, which again, if you went to convention, I was fascinated by Days for Girls. I think it's so amazing and important. And we got to go listen to a Nepali woman named Maya who runs Days for Girls in Nepal. This is a little education program for girls, usually in the age of 10 to 12, about their bodies, about normal, healthy body processes, menstruation, basic hygiene, hand washing, and very, very basic family planning, and a little bit of self-defense too. They give women, these girls, I should say, they're young, these kits, and this education, and the kits are actually reusable menstrual products. So the girls are, hey Clayton, I'm on a call right now. I need you to stay out, okay? Oh, no. Okay, I know.
It's a little house, a trailer pulling a truck.
Oh, that's nice. Thank you for coming in here. So they don't have access to disposable menstrual products. It's just too expensive. And then where are they going to get this out in the middle of nowhere too? So these women, these girls, when they have their periods, they often just stay home from school. They don't go anywhere. They sit at home, and then there's a cultural, I guess, a cultural tradition that women who are menstruating are unclean. So often these girls and women are sent out to a hut on the property, like an outbuilding. Sometimes it's just a little tiny shed or clay building that doesn't have any ventilation. And not only is it very isolating, they can't go to school, they can't do their work, they can't socialize. It's also dangerous. It's cold. There are insects, there are animals, there are, in the winter time, the girls or women who are isolated will have to build a little fire or some way to keep themselves warm. And every year, a few of them die because of carbon monoxide poisoning. So these things aren't invented. This isn't, like some elaborate structure. So this program, Days for Girls, is an attempt to change the culture, to educate women, let them know they're not dirty, they're healthy, they're empowered, and these reusable menstrual products allow them to take charge of their own hygiene. They can wash the products and then use them again the next month, and it keeps them from having to stay home and from using things that are not clean to keep their bodies clean and safe. So we got to listen to this presentation to the girls, and Maya's amazing. She's funny and engaging, and the girls get a little embarrassed, but she handles it beautifully. And the goal is to teach them that they are strong, they're empowered, they're healthy, everything is good. These periods aren't dirty, their bodies aren't dirty, they're not dirty, or shameful. We got to hear this, and then we got to be a little bit involved with actually kind of demonstrating, putting on the products outside of our clothes, and then also show a little bit of, they did a little bit of self-defense, and then they actually bring in a couple of people from our group to give the girls a little bit of affirmation, let them know that they're important, they're smart and brave, and they're the future. They're the teachers, the doctors, the mothers. They're the ones who are going to be doing, great things. I think Days for Girls is just awesome. It's also, Nepalese women are actually making the products too, and being employed with very fair wages, actually above fair wages, in making these products for the girls who need them. So this is the girls after our presentation. They all got this kit, and the kits are very attractive. The products are beautiful. They're soft. They're each unique. Everyone's different. They don't look like a menstrual product. So after people wash their clothes in the river or in a little spigot in their yard and then hang things up on a line, it doesn't look like a personal hygiene product. It just looks like a towel or a washcloth. So it was a really neat experience. I thought it's a really important, and it's something that is a little bit outside the box. And, in my mind, I didn't realize this was such an issue, and it's really great. So if you don't know about Days for Girls, I invite you to get involved, for sure. If you know how to sew, they can always use the actual products, but there's other ways you can do this, through education, through financial support. And it's helping girls all over the world. They're in 100 countries right now. So this was just after the presentation. That's Maya in the orange shirt. She's local to these girls. Her story is very similar to a lot of them. She came from extreme poverty, grew up with a lot of family members who've had terrible, tragic situations because of poverty. And she just has just a fantastic way with them, and involved us in her teaching and educating. Kids really respond well to her. So then another thing we did on another day, it rained a ton. So we were supposed to do more construction work, but it was just raining too hard. So we went to the current clinic, and went in the rooms where there weren't patients at that time, and we cleaned. And that place doesn't get cleaned very often. I mean, there's only 2 doctors and not a lot of professional support there. They don't have time to clean. They're constantly helping people. So we scrubbed floors, walls, ceilings. We took apart some of the equipment, beds and wheelchairs and stuff like that, scrubbed all that. It was filthy, just filthy. And you consider that really sick people are there sometimes. It's just, it's bad. They just don't have time. They don't have the time for it. So we were all wearing masks and gloves, and you can see on some of the walls, it's just years of dust, cobwebs, dirt just built up. We did a lot of deep cleaning, and we could have done another day's worth of deep cleaning there. I was like the tallest person in Nepal, so I got to clean the ceilings. I think there were like 2 men in our group that were taller than me and then I, and so we were the 3 that were like, okay, we're strapping every like piece of long metal we can onto their brooms to try to reach these corners because they're really high. This is a birthing room too. I don't know if you can see the pictures on the wall. This is the women just usually have home births, but it's, you know, in the conditions they have, if anything goes wrong, it could be really complicated. So they try to have them birth at the health center whenever they can. So that was actually a birthing room. And you can imagine like, in labor in there, not a fun experience. Pretty bare bones, everything's cement. And, you know, we discussed a lot about hopefully the new hospital will be a little bit warmer, a little bit easier to keep clean. And hopefully they'll be able to have a bigger staff to maintain it a little bit better. This was just back at the schoolyard. A bunch of us, we'd hang out every day. Whenever we had free time, the kids would come and we'd play Frisbee, soccer, throw the ball around, paint nails, blow bubbles. There was sidewalk chalk, and then just talking to the kids. They wanted to interact with us constantly. They would come to our doors. So you can see the orange building in the background there. That's actually their school. That's where they go to school. But the week we were there, we were sleeping in their school building. So they would come to the doors of their school, their classrooms, and knock and want us to come out. And we pretty much, whenever we were there, we were just interacting with the kids. They were just ready to play, ready to talk, ready to hang out with us. And they were very gracious in sharing their school. We were sleeping on the floor of the classrooms. With some pretty sketchy electricity and with little squatty potty holes in the ground and a little bit off to the side there. And if we wanted to take a shower, there were camping tents, 2 of them set up over spigots, and the spigots are like 2 feet off the ground. And you'd fill up a bucket. You go in the tent, so you have a little bit of privacy, fill up the bucket, and then there was a cup in the bucket, and you'd pour the cup over your head. That's the shower. That's it. So it's pretty basic. But after those days of construction, it feels great. So, I mean, it wasn't the most luxurious experience, but you definitely are wanting to get your body clean. So you pretty much do whatever you need to do out there. So that all happens right here. I mean, that's where the orange buildings where we were sleeping. There are multiple classrooms. We were in, like, there were 6 and 7 of us per room. And then we walk just a little bit over that way, and there's the squatty potty toilets and the showers, the camping tents. So it all happened right there. And we really got to know these kids like day in and day out. The professional photographer that was with us just took some beautiful, amazing pictures. And this little girl, oh my gosh, her eyes, a lot of people were taking pictures of her. She just really catches your eye. But all these people are so, so beautiful too. And very engaging, very kind, and just a lot of fun. Kids would be like, get out here and play ball with me. So this is actually after we left the village, we headed back to Kathmandu, our 7-hour bus ride. We learned the day we were leaving that Dr. Hill, that guy, he's got a big heart and he knows what's up. He had visited the doctors in the clinic one day while we were doing construction and learned a little bit more about what they do and what they have and what they don't have. And their equipment, a lot of it was defective or outdated or broken. They didn't have an autoclave. That means they can't sanitize any instruments. So they want to do stitches on somebody. Like they're kind of playing with fire. There's nothing to sanitize it. Their autoclave had broken. They didn't have effective blood pressure cuffs. They didn't have suction machines for people that are having respiratory issues or for newborns that are having trouble breathing. Just basic, the most basic equipment, bandages and things like that, sutures. Dr. Hill sat down with Pratik, who's the director of choice, who was able to translate. And you'll see in the middle of this group that the young man with the glasses, he's the other doctor. So Dr. Hill, I don't even know how he does it because doTERRA is amazing. He ordered all the stuff they needed. And 2 days later, it all showed up to our hotel in Kathmandu. I don't even know how you get 2 days shipping on this stuff. It's probably all local. They probably got it all in Kathmandu because the Nepali people know where to get it, Nepali people. So this equipment all showed up. Dr. Hill's like, oh, look what we got. So we're going to send this. The doctor came to the hotel and he's picking all this up and to get on that 7-hour car ride back to the health clinic. So this is what Healing Hands Foundation does. I mean, this is the stuff that these people need right now. They can't wait 9 more months for their new health center. They need equipment right now. So it was all kind of this low-key operation, and it just happened. And it happened because we contribute to Healing Hands Foundation, and because the executives in our company are kind and compassionate people who just do things that need to be done. So that was really amazing. So we kind of all got around, took pictures of the equipment, and then off it went to the hospital or the health center, where I'm sure it went into use that day. It was needed like as soon as that doctor could get on the road and get back. I'm sure they started using the stuff immediately. So that was pretty amazing. And this is the young doctor, and then Pratik from Choice and Dr. Hill with that equipment. We take a lot for granted, and they don't. It was really touching. Also, they would get emotional a lot. Just like, what, you're giving us this equipment? What? And they would get very tearful and grateful. And everybody in Nepal says namaste. That's the greeting. And so there was just a lot of this when there was, things happening like that. Just so much of that. So it's pretty touching. This is just our group. We had an amazing group of people, really interesting, unique people, and we all got to be really good friends. After our pretty emotional and draining days in the village, we actually took a trip to Pokhara, which is a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more of a vacation type place. I could say a little bit like a resort, but it's still not what you'd consider like a Western, type place. But really beautiful, scenic. The lake is gorgeous, and we did a lot of hiking, and actually were able to see the Himalayas from there too. So it was a really amazing trip. I'm so grateful that I got to go, and I'm grateful that I was kind of randomly matched up with all these interesting people, the Nepali people, the doTERRA people, Choice, and all of that. It was just kind of the perfect combination. So I would tell anybody who's interested in these kind of trips to keep your ears and eyes open, because there are opportunities. And that's even if you were, newer to doTERRA, or you're not some upper echelon leader, it's still available to you. I don't know how they're going to handle trips in the future. I think it's kind of evolving, because there's so many wellness advocates and so many people interested, but then they're also expanding their Healing Hands Foundation trips. I would strongly encourage it. If your health allows. It's rigorous, it's tough, it's tiring, but it's amazing. If that's not something that interests you, or you're not able to do it, there's other ways you can definitely get involved. The Healing Hands Foundation, it needs donations all the time. That's you can always give through your loyalty rewards program. You can always give $1 a month, or $1 a year, whatever your finances allow. More is always awesome. The rose lotion, if you buy rose lotion, the entire purchase goes to the Healing Hands Foundation. I think it's $20. Same with the Hope Oil, the entire purchase goes to the Healing Hands Foundation. And those funds are all directed to people who need assistance around the world. The Choice Humanitarian Group is amazing. They're based out of Salt Lake City. They're fantastic. doTERRA partners with them. They're great. Choice takes a lot of trips too. Similar communities all over the world. They work in 7 different countries. I would totally look into that also to them, if that's an interest of yours. Healing Hands Foundation, like I said, 100% of the donations go to the people, go to the communities. They're not going to pay any upper overhead fees, administrative fees, anything like that. It's a 501c3, and it's growing all the time. As we expand, like as doTERRA expands, we're going to need more oils, we're going to need healthy plants, and we're going to need good relationships around the world. So this is just going to keep growing. And I was so lucky to get to see how it operates firsthand. And I just came back from it going, this is legitimate. This is important. This is real. We're doing the right thing at the right time. This company's doing the right thing at the right time. And it's something it should be important for everybody, being global citizens, taking care of the planet, taking care of people. That's especially important, I think, to younger people. And those are a lot of our newer doTERRA people, or people who might be interested in doTERRA. Learning about what we're doing from a humanitarian standpoint is huge. So the oils are awesome, and they're helping people that don't have a lot. So, it's a great thing to talk about. I definitely, as a person that's building the business and teaching classes and talking to people about doTERRA, I need to talk more about Healing Hands Foundation. Lead with that even. Even the wintergreen that you buy, $1 of every bottle goes straight to the Nepalese people that are growing it, distilling it. So I definitely need to use more wintergreen also. I didn't use enough of that before. But it's just so, the story behind it is just amazing, and the sustainability is powerful. So that's pretty much it for me. I don't know if anybody has any questions about anything.
That was awesome. Did you stop sharing your screen?
Oh, I did, didn't I? Can I go back? Let's see.
No, you can stop sharing. That's good.
Okay.
That way we can see everybody.
Okay. Is that better?
Nope.
I actually have some wintergreen leaves right here. I pressed them into my book.
Awesome.
We got a little journal, and I pressed leaves into there. So yeah, it's kind of amazing.
Cool.
We touched it all, picked it up. Yeah.
Is the screen, Kenzie, can you see? Is it?
No, you'll just have to click on the top. It says that we're still viewing your screen, Lynn. If you'll just hit stop share.
Stop share.
Perfect.
There we go.
There we go. Okay. Hi. Wow, that's a lot of people. Hi.
Well, I think that was awesome. One of the things that I think is powerful about this is because for those of us that have been in doTERRA for a while, we know the integrity of the owners, the integrity of the company, and even still with some of that, when you hear about what's happening with Healing Hands and the co-impact sourcing, sometimes your mind can be like, is that totally legit? Is that real? Everything that they're saying, is that real? And being able to have you come back, somebody that we know and trust and have had that personal experience, that really just kind of solidifies and brings about more credibility to really what it's all about, and to really help us to see that. I don't know, when you were talking about the whole process of the wintergreen and the distillation and the women, and how that all works, that's touching for me. I mean, you take it for granted. You open up your bottle of oil and you use the oil and put the cap back on and put it away and go about your business with no thought as to everything that went into that whole process. So that was powerful for me. That was good. The whole thing was good. Thank you so much for sharing. It was very, very good.
You're welcome. Thanks for letting me share. It's real. It's all real. Every bit of it. I got to see it. It gives me so much more of an interest to it. Everything that when we have a convention or, if you get to go to an event and they're talking about a relationship with a partner in another country or even the US, just, one of their co-impact sourcing partners, or you see one of them on the stage, you have to understand, oh my gosh, like what, means that doTERRA has gone to create that relationship, and then how that relationship is affecting these other people. It's really, really powerful.
Right.
They're very insightful, forward thinking, looking at the future always. And this is some pretty good, it's pretty good proof of that. So.
And to know that we may not be hands-on, but like you say, donate $1.
Mm-hmm.
That's less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks, way less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks, and
Mm-hmm.
so to really realize the impact that we can make just by donating to Healing Hands. That doesn't have anything to do with building a business or anything. That's just serving someone.
Absolutely.
So,
Meredith just asked, how does doTERRA find these people? How do we find our co-impact sourcing relationships? That co-impact sourcing team, Tim is the director, Tim Valentiner, and then there's a lot of others that are working on it. That's all they do. I mean, they spend every day of their lives working with the people they're already working with, and then figuring out where else they can have co-impact sourcing relationships. That's their job, because if we're going to keep expanding like we are, they have to. We have no choice. We have to find people that know how to grow plants and distill plants, and they're constantly working on those relationships. They have contacts all over the place, and they create contacts all over the place. They travel. These people travel all the time. And sometimes it doesn't work. They were telling stories about that, trying to do co-impact sourcing relationships. Sometimes it doesn't work. Like in Somalia, it's not safe. It's just not safe to have a co-impact sourcing relationship. So they do workarounds, they're able to harvest the frankincense locally, but then they ship it on boats to the distillery in Bulgaria. So they don't have a co-impact sourcing relationship on the ground, but they still have an excellent relationship with the people that harvest it. And then they have a co-impact sourcing relationship with the distillery in Bulgaria. So it's a huge amount of work and coordination and relationship building. And it's happening like years in advance now. I mean, they're working years into the future behind the scenes right now. So, I mean, if you could, I don't even know how their brains work, but these are people that do this kind of thing. I mean, they all have they have business backgrounds, they have international relations backgrounds, they have different nationalities and different connections in their backgrounds. So they're a wonder team of people, ever growing too.
Awesome. And if you look back, so I've been in doTERRA for 6 years, and just as how the sourcing and Healing Hands and everything that doTERRA is doing, it's just mind-blowing in such a short period of time. It is mind-blowing to really realize the people that are being touched just through co-impact sourcing and the Healing Hands, not even, wellness advocates, just knowing the people that are being helped and touched in that way is pretty powerful, I think.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Oh yeah, the water bottle. Yeah, the essential oil, that was a temporary situation. He just caught that essential oil in the water bottle coming out of the distillation machine, but then they put it into these canisters. So that was just for the photo op, I think. And he held that thing up. It was like Lion King, like, ah, and we're all like, ah, oh, crowd, because we're just as geeky about it as you would be, like, oh my gosh, not that oil. We're all like, can we touch it? Can we smell it? So that was just for the photo op and that moment. They have, I mean, when you see the buckets they're catching things in and, you know, doing it, it's just, I mean, it's like somebody's yard. There's dirt and there's plant material and there's debris, but that's all going to go into canisters, which go, then they're carefully purified. Things are strained out. They're tested for purity and potency and all that stuff. So yeah, that was just a photo op, and they do not store it in those water bottles. It wouldn't last long.
Yeah.
So it was totally.
I had a question about the women. So you were saying that some were homeless and some had, you know, families, and how do they determine who gets to do the harvesting? Do they just show up?
Yeah, they just show up. Like, I think word spreads. I mean, I think certain women they've reached out to in the community, because they have to let them know where the distillery is. But there are just women who hear about the opportunity and go and harvest wintergreen. And it's not like a full-time job. They go there, you know, they do it like 4 or 5 hours a day, and then they go about their business. And if they have a few days where they can't do it, they just don't. It's just a community effort, and it's wild grown. It's not grown like on one hillside on somebody's land. It's just all over the place. So I'm sure if you're a local, you know where the good spots are. You know when it's ready, and you go, you harvest it. So it's really interesting. It's all community land, community distilled. I mean, there's a few people that really know how to run the distillation process, but it's fascinating. So yeah, it's a whole just community of women. We didn't know about kind of what the women were going through. We didn't really interact with them a lot. We couldn't because of the language barrier. And also they just wanted to get out of the end. They're like, give me some food, give me my money, bye. They're out. But we found out later that Pratik, who's the choice director, had sat down with that one woman in particular and just said, you know, what's going on? Because she looked like she had maybe some health issues, and he found out she was in an abusive relationship. And he didn't tell anybody. He doesn't like announce this or anything, but through talking with some of our group members later, we learned that he had privately said he found out she was being abused, and he knows the community. So he went to her home, and her partner, husband, I'm not sure, he said, he wasn't accusatory. He was just like, what's going on? Like, is there, you know, is your household under some stress? And found out that the man didn't have a job. He didn't have any income. He'd lost his blacksmith job in all of his equipment in the earthquake. And he was just under a lot of stress. And not that it's acceptable to start beating people when you're under stress, but that's how he was handling it. He was beating his wife and children. So the choice team met with him. They're like, what do you need? How can we help your family? And they're working on right now getting him some blacksmith tools so that he can get back to some of his work, which hopefully giving him a little bit of empowerment and an outlet would decrease some of the stress, and maybe help the family. So it's not, it's just like a little micro effort. Can't change everything, can't change the whole culture, but maybe it'll keep that woman, her children, just a little bit safer.
Right.
Longer. So. Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that's the kind of stuff they just do all the time, Yeah. It's pretty powerful stuff.
Sweet.
Yep. So all your oils, when you're using them, you don't even know like where they're coming from and who they're helping. So
yeah,
pretty cool.
Very, very cool.
Yep. And don't doubt that you're in the right place, because they're doing some amazing things. Dr. Hill gave us a little history, just kind of like a spontaneous history of doTERRA one night at dinner. And of course, we're all like listening with rapt attention. And he said that they went into this knowing how they wanted to run this company and how they didn't. And along the way, there were a lot of little shortcuts they could have taken, which would have been a lot more profitable and easier, just way easier. And they've avoided those. So to get to the point where they are now is a tremendous effort, and takes a lot of work and a lot of strength of character. So.
Right. Awesome. What a great experience.
It was pretty awesome. It was
Yeah.
pretty great.
I'm so happy you got to do it. Very, very cool.
Me too. And someday I won't be jet lagged. Someday.
Yeah.
This is the latest I've been up. I don't even know what's going on anymore now. My body
Does
thinks
anybody
it's
have
noon.
questions?
Oh, somebody told me the name of the neck garnishment. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
'Cause
Hi.
I didn't. I wrote down all these different things. We were learning all the names of the different things. So the tika is the mark on the forehead. And then kata, I think. Yeah, I think kata was the neck, the plant that goes, I don't even know
Oh,
what the necklace. So, well, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for doing this, especially being jet lagged and putting everything together. You rock. That was really, really good. Yeah.
We have a great photographer. Oh, the photographer that went with us is actually the photographer. He takes only stills. He doesn't do videos, but he does all the still images that you see at gala, a lot of the Living magazine stuff, convention. So that was also kind of cool. You're like, oh, you're kind of famous too. Not really, but I mean, you'll see him down on the stage at convention taking pictures, and so he was there taking pictures for us. It was great. So he became part of the group. You know, it was
Cool.
fun.
Very cool.
Beautiful pictures. So I'll be sharing more. We have 700 pictures on a flash drive that we got at the end of the trip. So
Yeah, I can't wait to see them.
yeah.
The colors are awesome. Really, really vibrant. Very cool.
It's like that. The whole countryside, very bright colors. Everything's very like reds and oranges and blues. It's very vibrant. So to be able to capture that on film is a talent.
Yeah. Awesome.
So.
All right, we're going to do the giveaway. You're on, Kenzie.
Yay. Okay, tonight we are giving away a basil. So the winner tonight is Melinda. So
Woohoo, Melinda.
send me your address, please.
Thank you.
All righty. Well, thanks, you guys. Thanks for coming. I would love to have you. Kenzie will be posting the recording in Rockstars. I'd love for you to just share your takeaways, especially for the people that weren't able to be with us, because I think that this is powerful. I think it's powerful on a personal level, and I think it's powerful on a business level. So for you to be able to just share kind of what touched you as Lynn was sharing her experience, I think that would be good. And I would appreciate seeing it. So if you could do that for me, that would be fantastic. So next week we will have Lisa. And if Lisa can't do it, we will have Curtis. So we're in for a treat. In the meantime, have an amazing week. And holler if I can do anything for you. Thank you very much for showing up, you guys. Love you guys.